Five.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to just a really casual conversation between two yoga teachers in the year 2026.
Yeah.
Out here in remote Indonesia.
Mm.
We'll have to show you guys the view that we're looking at when we get a chance.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So, if you are not familiar with us, I'm Sjenade. I'm a yoga teacher and freediving instructor. And this is Chloe.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and I'm also a yoga teacher. Teach different styles.
I guess let's start with our yoga journeys.
Mhm.
I think that's a good place so that our listeners can get an idea of where we're coming from. We both understand now that yoga's become this really diversified practice, and there are people that are honoring more traditional roots, and there are people that are adding different layers to it or
Yeah.
drawing from different movements, mobilities, or modern practices and incorporating that into yoga, modern science. So do you want to start?
Yeah. So my first time ever experiencing yoga was, I think, in 2014 or 15. And I think it was one of my birthdays that a friend of mine got me a gift certificate to the local studio in Cairns, Australia.
Wow.
And that was my first official yoga class ever. And I just remember going to class and just feeling really just lulled by the voice of the yoga teacher. And that in itself had me hooked because it was just like this space to just decompress. And I think coming from a background of competitive sports in America, yoga was the first experience of mine that I was able to move my body, connect with my breath, connect with different people without this essence of competition. And so it really changed my life in that, oh my gosh, there isn't a race. I don't have to compete with the person next to me. I don't even have to compete with myself. It's just like a continuous journey of self discovery and connection. And I think that's what really drew me to it. So I started going quite regularly. I did reception at a studio in exchange for free classes. And I would brush the bolsters, sweep the floors and stuff like that in exchange for free classes. So that's when I started getting deeper into my practice. When I turned 27 in 2018, I gave myself a birthday gift of going to Darjeeling, India. I found a yoga studio, or not even a studio, a shala, a school out there where I decided to get my 200-hour certification. And I just went very traditional in the sense of, I just wanted to deepen my practice. I had no intention of teaching. I had no intention of sharing in a guiding sense. I just wanted to deepen my own personal practice. And then it was incredible. I spent a month out there. We practiced every single day. It was such a strict routine, which is the structure that I think I needed to dive deeper into my practice. Waking up at 5 a.m. by 4:30, you've done half an hour of meditation, your kriyas, your cleansing practices, then kirtan chanting for half an hour, to just the rest of the philosophy, physical practices for the rest of the day. And I was in bed by 8 p.m. every night, exhausted. And that was incredible, an incredible sort of boot camp into the yoga world. And yeah, when I returned back to Australia, because I was living in Australia at that time, I had a friend who had just opened up a yoga studio and they needed somebody to substitute classes. It was a new studio. It was called Wild Heart at the time in Cairns. And that's when I started dipping my toes into teaching, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So since then, I was teaching for a few years in Cairns, Australia. Then I moved to England and taught at Hot Pod Yoga over there, which is like a franchise. Have you ever done Hot Pod before?
I haven't done it before, but I've seen their Instagram videos and things like that.
So it's kind of which is almost like corporate yoga in a sense. So it's all franchised. And anyway, we can get into that a bit later. But that was interesting. And then we moved to Sabah, Malaysia, my husband and I, where I taught there for a while. And yeah, I've done little events, little retreats sprinkled throughout my journey. And it's just been a wild ride. I'm still a student. I'm still learning every single day. And I think that's what I love about it the most. So that's my long-winded journey.
I think when we get to this point where we feel like we want to share our experience and share our knowledge, there's definitely going to be this kind of long trail of multiple experiences of this person finding their way. And I think in that process is where you find that you are definitely just a student forever,
Yeah.
just learning forever. But similar to yours, my journey started in 2017. I also went through quote unquote very traditional yoga boot camp, and it was the best experience ever. Back then, 200-hour yoga teacher trainings now can be 21 days, which I think
Yeah.
is really, really fast.
Yeah.
But back then, our training was 27 days or something, 28
Yeah.
days. So it was a
Same.
full 4 weeks. And my training was a little bit more in the traditional Hatha, Shivananda Hatha background with Ashtanga and Vinyasa in the 200 hours. But I think the most incredible part of that training for me was definitely the more devotional, the more bhakti, the more devotional side of that practice. 1 hour of chanting in the morning from the mantra book and the instruments. And then by week 2, a couple of us were leading the chants. And I think that was incredible. And I definitely found that, again, something we can get into later, I definitely found that there was something more intriguing to me outside of the physical practice path of yoga. Got me interested in the different parts of yoga, which is why I'm so grateful. An immersion like that is something that you learn from forever. You go through a 1 month immersion and your habits are already changed.
Yeah.
It is difficult to keep it up when you get back home, but it's definitely planted a seed. And I think what makes 200-hour immersion so special is that you're still learning from it months later.
Yeah.
Things that couldn't land with you in that month immersion are definitely still landing weeks and months later as you're continuing to practice, as you're revisiting your notes, as you're going through your studies. And then I was living in China at the time. I was teaching English. I've always kind of been in a teaching capacity. We talked about this a little bit the other day. Even in my corporate job, there was like an element of coaching, mentoring. So I feel like I've been a teacher all my life, really,
Yeah.
unintentionally.
Yeah.
A couple of people would come over to my apartment and I'd teach in my lounge. And there were a couple of guys that were avid gym goers and they like to have the break in the yoga practice every now and then. So I had a couple of regulars that came, and I came back really in love with India. I also did my 200 hours in India in the south. And actually, it was supposed to be in the north near Sikkim, but there was some political unrest at that time. So they moved our yoga venue to the south in Agonda. And then in 2019, I traveled back to India, and then I was in Dharamshala in the north for my 300 hours teacher training. And there I met a teacher that had studied 4 years of traditional Chinese medicine at a university in China.
Oh, wow.
And she was actually my first mentor in understanding how well traditional Chinese medicine overlaps with yoga. There's obviously common threads with things like Ayurveda and things that you do study when you're on any 200-hour, 300-hour yoga teacher training. And so she kind of like opened up my eyes to the possibility, as I was already located in China. She kind of like opened up the possibility for me to be able, as a foreigner, to be able to go into traditional Chinese medicine, which is something I'd always been interested in, but never thought it was kind of like possible for me.
Yeah.
And it became possible. And so after that teacher training, I returned back to China as a student and not a teacher, an English teacher anymore, and studied Chinese and studied traditional Chinese medicine in Chinese first, which was really hard. So I then transferred to the English University in Shanghai, and then that's where I ended up. But I'm still not finished with my medical degree, but I know that I will finish at some point and hopefully return to China because it has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Kind of like India does as well. And then it's been incorporating traditional Chinese medicine, acupressure, specifically acupressure and meridian theory and 5 elements theory into yoga. And I think in my 300 hours, I was expecting this like advanced asana teacher training, and it completely was the opposite.
Was it specifically yin
It
when you
wasn't
signed up? No?
specifically yin. No, it wasn't specifically yin, but we did a lot of yin. There was a bit of prenatal in there as well. And it was intense. It was still a full schedule. It was still, a proper 300-hour training. There was still Ayurvedic instruction, yoga, anatomy instruction, everything in Vinyasa, Ashtanga, power yoga, rocket, and things like that. But towards about halfway through, it became very yin.
Interesting.
Very, very yin. And then the traditional Chinese medicine aspect was introduced. But the initial exposure was with Hatha. So traditional Chinese medicine in a Hatha practice. And then progressively, it became more and more yin for me. My practice changed a lot. Trying to find a happy balance between the two energies of yang and yin.
Yeah.
And now I teach 50 hours teacher training, a manual that I've written that incorporates traditional Chinese medicine 5 elements theory and acupoint theory and acupressure into a practice that is a little bit deeper energetically. I mean, I don't think that there's any like a wrong way that you could approach, especially something like a yin yoga practice, because it's easily accessible for everyone, whether you're using no props and just using your body,
Mm-hmm.
or if you are incorporating more of the Buddhist beliefs and those approaches, and then you kind of move into Taoism and then traditional Chinese medicine, meridian theory, which is what yin yoga is based off of. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going a bit off on a tangent here.
No,
but
your journey or experience.
but I think that there's definitely something there where we're doing a combination of fascia release with the yin and then the myofascia release with the acupressure balls.
Yeah.
And the slowing down and the breathing and the awareness. It's not to say that that doesn't exist in any other practice, but I think the value in that now is that there's all of this overstimulation
Yes.
in modern society, and I feel like it's a nice complementary to that.
Yeah.
Although I will say that, I mean, I've been deep in like a very slow kind of rhythm and a very yin state for a long time, and being in that extreme is not good either.
Yeah.
As we're seeing, because we're teaching a very yang workshop in 2 days.
Yeah.
Or in a day, and you need that balance.
Absolutely.
That balance, yeah.
I think you said it like right. And that's why a lot of people find yin practices even more difficult than a yang practice or even boring. I think somebody at my teacher training recently that I took, because I just finished my 300-hour, and they're like, I don't go to yin at all. Like it's so boring. Like what, I'm just going to sit there in a forward fold. Like I'm so bored, but I'm like, that's the practice.
For sure.
That's the wake up call. It's like if you're bored and you're agitated and you're sitting there and you're picking your nails, what work needs to be done there with your relationship to stillness? Because that was definitely very yang practice, very like heat, strength, all the big like asana poses, and especially when you first get into yoga as well.
It's
You see other,
necessary, I think.
yeah, maybe you're just like burning away like a lot of versions of yourself. I don't know, energetically, if you want to think about it like that. You see like the crow pose, you see the headstands and the handstands. You're like, oh, I want to do that. Maybe it comes from like an egotistical place at first, maybe for me. But when you've been so immersed into that type of yoga, when you finally are met with yin, it's like, whoa, it's actually so life changing. And I remember like going into my first yin class and even hearing meridian for the first time. This is like probably in 2018, 2019. And I was like, something shift. Our practice was super minimal in terms of how many shapes we did, but the quality and the time that we spent in each shape, because we spend a lot longer in one pose in a yin practice than we do just breathing in and out, moving in and out of poses in a like a vinyasa, for instance. And it was just a really, really balancing experience where it's like, okay, you also need this. Yeah, I think that was very mind blowing. And I loved coming to your training last year. It was something I wanted to do for a really long time, taking a yin training. And when I finally came here to Bira and took your training, and we spent 10 days just diving into the 5 element theory and the meridian theory, it really blew my mind how it can like translate, like not even just into yin practices, but into yang practices as well. I loved all that. It was so, so good. I
It
wish I
was
could
so
take.
great to have you here.
Yeah, it was honestly, one of the best trainings I've taken, because it went really, you didn't hold back. We went really, really deep into the theory, and I love it. It's a long-winded way to say that when somebody's, oh, I don't go to yin because it's super boring, that's kind of why you should probably go to yin, because we're, like you said, we're so overstimulated. There's so much going on constantly in our day to day.
I learned a lot having different participants. And this is now my new word as well. My friend is quite versed with decolonizing yoga language and making it less student teacher or less guru-ish or removing hierarchy completely.
Yes.
And I've just read a post that she's made, and she's read the literature behind it. And she says that one of the words that she stopped using is student. So she
Hmm.
says participant. I'm still kind of like playing around with it because I
Mhm.
feel like as a student, I'm happy to be a student. I'm humbled to be a
Yeah.
student. But at the same time, I think it's more empowering if an individual gets to use that word and
Mm.
not necessarily me as the teacher.
Yeah.
So I will say I have learned a lot from my participants the last 2 years. And yours was definitely one that stood out a lot.
Mm.
And there was something that came out of that training actually that I used when I went and assisted on a teacher training at another location with another local teacher. And it was about understanding the subtle differences between each of the elements. The structure of the teacher training is that we practice through the elements and we start with earth.
Yeah.
So we move through earth and then metal and then water and then wood and then we end with fire. And I think it was an interesting observation because you mentioned that while the other yin practices were quite heavy
Mhm.
and made you feel quite sleepy, and
Yeah.
then, because we practice in the morning and we practice in the evening, or we try to change it up a little bit. But that observation of you after the fire class practice, and you were like, I feel so relaxed, but I feel awake.
Yeah.
And that subtle kind of realization
Yeah.
and that recognition in the differences and the variations between the spectrum that is the five elements is so important, because I remember saying it to this new group where I was teaching in December with another teacher. It was another manual. I was just there to assist with the five elements theory, and someone said it's all the same, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
it's not.
And it's like once
It's
you
not.
experience it for yourself or like you pay
Exactly.
attention to it.
Exactly. So, or like some students that have said, I can feel the flow of chi in a meridian. I know where this energy channel is now, and doing the
Yeah.
shape, I can actively feel the flow of chi. And someone will say it's different to a pulse and it's different to a heartbeat. It's different to
Mhm.
the flow of blood through the system. And it's that learning. Like that's what you uncover in that boredom. That's what you uncover
Exactly.
in that stillness, right? It builds more and more
100%.
awareness. But I think it's really beautiful because now that we've crossed years of a
Mm.
journey of
Mhm.
learning about yoga, we understand it now more as a medicine.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing because
Yeah.
people will approach it as a workout, as a way to
Right.
get their physical exertion out. So maybe they're injured and they can't do what they used to do, and yoga's a winning alternative. But what's opened my eyes the most about studying something like traditional Chinese medicine with it, and I'm sure if you went deeper into Ayurveda, you would get the same, or deeper into the philosophy with yoga, anatomy. If you chose any of those, you would then be able to quantify yoga as a medicine. This is how we
Mm.
understand it as a medicine.
Yeah,
What a journey.
you're shifting energy in the body.
What a journey.
It was interesting what you mentioned as well before, the language
Mm.
of referring to students as participants.
Yes.
Because I feel like the same, and we had this conversation last year during the training around the word teacher
Yes.
and just like that hierarchical, I guess, use of titles or language that kind of creates a little bit of a hierarchy, like
Mm.
in the classrooms. That word teacher, yoga instructor, I've just not resonated with that for like such
Mm.
a long time, where it's like I prefer just like being the guide,
Mm.
because ultimately you're the one making the decisions in your
Mm.
body. You're the one listening to the energy, the flow of chi, the
Mm.
subtle energetic differences in the body and what you need moment by moment. And you choose how far you want to take the practice. And no two practices look the same. You could do the exact same two practices on 2 different days and they just won't be the same.
Mm.
It's important to sort of guide the student into being like their own leader
Mm.
from within.
Yeah. I love
Because yeah,
this.
I'm not really wanting to bark orders at you, but I'm like
Mm.
constantly reminding, okay, so what is your body saying or whispering
Mm.
in this moment? Do
Mm.
you need a little movement? Do you need a bit of stillness? How
Mm.
has your day affected this moment right now? And it's just like probing the participant into really training their inner eye
Mm.
of, yeah, what's happening in their body, what's
Mm.
happening in the mind, and how it's all linking. Yeah.
I think that's where yoga's power starts, because I don't think anyone's ever been asked we've not been taught, like growing up, we've not been taught monkey. Look here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there he goes. We've never been asked, or we've never been taught to listen to that part of our body, right? It's
Hmm.
never been something that we've been, not that we need to be told it, but it's not something that's being encouraged or fostered,
Yeah.
when we grow up. How am I feeling? Am I checking in with myself? What do I need today? Can I even ask myself these questions? Is the big shocker, the big
Yeah.
realization, but that's the start of building that self-awareness.
100%.
And I think it's great that we get to challenge even just language usage
Mhm.
and understanding where the journey that yoga has taken over the last few decades, and then being able to acknowledge how it's being used now for either good or bad,
Yeah.
essentially in the spiritual wellness space. I think it's great that we get to challenge these things. We get to challenge ourselves. We get
Yeah.
to think differently. That's why we would say we are students of yoga forever.
Yeah.
I think we're getting into the nitty gritty, the deeper, chunky parts
Mm.
that we wanted to discuss
Yeah.
today. The current state of yoga in the spiritual wellness space and where we
Mm.
see ourselves as potential hosts of 200-hour
Mhm.
immersions, longer immersions, and then,
Mhm.
of course, as facilitators, guides,
Mhm.
ourselves. Language is definitely one part where we can start to decolonize yoga. My first yoga class, this was actually very interesting with my individual experience because I grew up in a very conservative suburb of Cape Town in
Mhm.
South Africa. It was very Afrikaans, very Dutch colonial. It wasn't near town or the buzz of Cape Town. It was very much, we call it the northern suburbs. But I grew up in the Anglican church. I was baptized. My granny went to church every Sunday. I used to take her to mass before Christmas. And when I turned 17, I could count on my one hand how many people of color were in my school. Very conservative in that way and becoming more progressive, but obviously not a lot. But my family had decided that we were going to all get fit and we were going to join the gym. And there was a yoga class at the gym. And I remember taking this vinyasa class and feeling like I'd sprinted 5 kilometers, or like 10 kilometers in this class because I was just drenched, but I felt absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember being 17 and being like, gosh, everyone needs to do this.
Yeah.
And then going to like my friends, some of us were class prefects. So very much in like the Christian. We had assembly every Friday and we would sing Christian songs. And I remember telling everyone, like, oh, I went to yoga and it was just incredible. And you guys should try this. It was amazing. Have you done this before? And just getting so much backlash. Oh, did they make you bow down to idols? It was so the response that I got, I was feeling so good. And the
Mhm.
response that I got off of it was so eye opening for me. I've got to start questioning things because how could I feel so good and everyone thinks what I've just done is so bad? It's at first like questioning your individual agency. And that was kind of like the start of me like really questioning just like everything. And then after that, I got a little bit more into, I guess I wouldn't say I was like, I'm well versed on the topic, but I started to get more into critical race theory. I started to understand myself as a brown person in a majority white space, being mixed race with like white family members, understanding the nuances that were
Mhm.
related to my mixed race colonial background and my ethnic background or indigenous background. And yoga is in the cusp of this thing right now.
Mm.
Yoga is in like this valley of like pull and tension in between
Mm.
this very subject
Mm.
of privileged people from the West being able to come and practice and then adopting what is good without acknowledging where yoga's come from or acknowledging yoga's roots and at least learning the Sanskrit
Mhm.
and using the words and understanding when to say namaste and when not to say
Yeah.
it, or
Yeah.
when to chant and when not to chant, or what to chant and not to chant for the sake of it, but because
Mhm.
you truly understand the words and it's
Yeah.
appropriate for that energetic space and time, like
Yeah.
without any consideration with any of these things, taking what is essentially the best of yoga
Mhm.
without its acknowledgement of its roots, or at least with some kind of like humility of like, this is a brown person's practice that I've taken on and
Mm.
I'm now applying in a foreign land and benefiting off of it. But ultimately, I guess the benevolent nature of yoga is that other people are going to benefit too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's a difficult
Yeah.
conversation,
It's hard.
but it was that kind of kickoff
Yeah.
22 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
That was like, whoa, got to start to question everything. And it's
Yeah.
22 years later, and we can still do that.
Oh, 100%. I'm like constantly reassessing I'm in the middle of that right now. Constantly assessing my beliefs, constantly assessing my values, and I think it's healthy to do that regardless. I also grew up very Christian. And of course, growing up, moving away from the house, you start to sort of develop your own identity and your own sort of relationship with God, universe, whatever sort of spiritual path you choose to explore. And I think just, going to college and like I said, being away from home, I kind of went through maybe like you can call it like a rebellious stage where it's just like, no, I'm spiritual, I don't believe in any, this is what moving away from what I grew up with to then, of course, like finding yoga as well and being in a space where I didn't see it as any sort of religious practice, which even though when you go to the shala, there are like, they had all sorts of different deities and different, I think they had a statue of Jesus even on, like they had everybody
Jesus was a
on there.
yogi.
Yeah, there you go. Like they had everybody on there. So in terms of that aspect, I think I it was nice turning to yoga in a sense that I can still sort of explore myself on a spiritual level and my relationship to the world in what sort of sense? Everything is one, connected sense. I think it's healthy to question even my relationship to yoga and what things are being taught in yoga trainings and how yoga has been used in many ways to manipulate as a religion in itself and harm people. So I think it's really important to question. Sometimes I like question myself, am I going full circle back to the Christianity route? And just to be completely honest, that's kind of where I find myself lately, but still being drawn to yoga and just that powerful rooted to each other sense, rooted to spirit, rooted to community, rooted to self. But I think it's very healthy to always question because then you always stay, it's just like even when a tree, okay, I always say even the strongest trees sway in the winds. It's okay to sort of teeter and direct and ask questions. I think it's super healthy and I think it makes you think in a wider perspective.
I think the realization that I've had the last 2 years, and there's been a lot of moments, especially in a place like this, where you just have time to think,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of space for clarity.
Yeah.
And amongst all of this, I truly feel like yoga is going to make you more of who you really are, not less.
Yeah.
And some people will be, what if someone's just really a bad person? I think people do bad things.
Mhm.
I don't really think that anyone is inherently bad. I think circumstances, okay, yes, we know in terms of mental and psychological definition, although even in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a completely different approach to someone's mental health.
Mhm.
But if we work on this premise of yoga is going to make me more of who I am in my true nature and the true sense of myself, it couldn't possibly be used for anything bad,
Yeah.
I don't think. And people are inherently good,
Mhm.
and it's going to amplify those things,
Mhm.
which I have to choose to believe.
Yeah.
The hopeful person in me has to believe that people are inherently good. People do want to do good, they just don't have the capacity sometimes or the opportunity or the context to do it in. Yoga is going to foster your individual sovereignty. It's going to strengthen your individual sense. It's going to bring you into alignment in the best way.
Yeah.
What I want us to unpack, though, is why are people being harmed through the incorrect, not use, but the incorrect practice of yoga? I understand that it's sometimes the most vulnerable people, the people who are quote unquote the most unwell.
Yeah.
They know it, right? They know either they know something's wrong within, or they know they're physically ill and they're searching for yoga.
Yep.
But it's oftentimes those are the people that are coming seeking,
Yes.
and they are the most vulnerable. So it's a big responsibility
100%. That's the thing.
as a yoga teacher to understand the quote unquote power that you have if someone is in that individual state and they're coming and they're looking for assistance.
100%.
There's the danger.
There's the danger. And there's the scope. It's like if somebody comes to me looking for, and I've been in situations where
You kind of go, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm not equipped for this.
I know, I'm like, can I give you a phone number and some
Yes.
resources? You want to be there for that person as much as you possibly can within your scope. And I think this is where breaking down that like sort of pedestal that people tend to put yoga guides, in their eyes, yoga teachers, yoga instructors, like this idea of like, tell me what to do, give me the thing that I need to feel better
Yeah.
in this life.
I want
And
this change. I need this change.
yeah, and it doesn't come from me. Like I don't have that. I can guide you in through these practices, and you can start to peel back some layers and maybe sit with yourself and also seek other help
From
that
someone who's
from
qualified.
someone who
Yeah.
is, yeah, who is qualified, I guess, because even Yeah, that's another topic of conversation. It's like, okay, somebody's qualified. What makes them qualified?
Qualified.
And then what's going to make them not be in this sort of pedestal guru?
Mm,
Anyway, anybody can sort of abuse their power.
mm,
But I think in terms of just breaking down this sort of guru hierarchical situation that can happen in a classroom where we're not put on the pedestal to be the savior,
mm.
because that is absolutely not our job. And that's where people can get really lost. I mean, I've been watching a lot of like dark documentaries lately about, gurus that come, say, to America, and people who are really lost and don't know where to go,
Or
like,
drawn to
drawn
that.
to them. And
Yes.
honestly, there could have easily been a point in my life where I would have been sucked in.
Yeah.
It's super important for people to find their inner sovereignty,
Mm,
sharpen their discernment. I'm
mm,
trying to do that
mm,
so much every day, to then be really aware of when somebody says that they have the
mm.
answer and
This quick fix
the
or
quick
this
fix.
answer, what is it? This cure all
Yeah.
for everything, you know?
Because yoga is super, super powerful,
Mm,
but it's potentially not the only thing that you need. It's, I think, maybe a launching pad and something to really root down into your sovereignty and sharpen your discernment, sharpen your sovereignty, which starts in the subtle ways, which starts to listening to yourself and your intuition and the little signals that your body is physically telling you. We've grown up like in society that numbs that from us, and it numbs that from us through so many things. Like, I mean, technological
yeah.
stimulation and distraction and
Mm.
fear and just low vibrational
Consumption,
consumption.
competition.
Definitely. And I think it could potentially be a perfect storm for somebody to spiral and just cling to someone. Please give me the answer. I need it. That's where I think things can get a bit muddied.
One of the other biggest lessons as a teacher the last 10 years, what I wish a lot of spiritual wellness practitioners understand, especially people that are specifically teaching or practicing yoga, is that nothing good that happens on the mat for that person is because of you specifically.
Yeah.
It's because of yoga that's
Yeah.
been around long before you were here, and it's going to be around long after you're gone.
Yeah.
You being here in the capacity of facilitator, guide, teacher is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what you should be doing here. You're going to have an audience, you're going to have people that you're going to impact. It doesn't matter how many Instagram followers you have or how little or how much you're actually teaching. It's like when you are ready to show up, those that should be there are going to be there. I think it would take away a lot of the harm if that was the mental approach, if that was emphasized in your initial teach training, because it's great that someone with a natural athletic capacity to approach and practice yoga asana shapes or poses, that it looks great, they accomplish it with relative ease because of physical capacity.
Yeah.
And it's great that it looks good on camera, and it's great that it looks beautiful and
Like
you
the
can share it
aesthetic yogi.
right.
Yeah.
It's great, but ultimately what I believe the main takeaway should be is it's not because of you, it's because of you as the channel
Yeah.
of thousands of years of accumulated energy through yogis that have practiced from the beginning of time or the beginning of yoga's time. It's because of that, of you being kind of like this channel, this conduit for it, that there is any positive shift for that person that's attending your class. It's not because of you as the individual. There are great people, there are great teachers, there are great orators, there are great people with amazing energy. Yes, 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 for sure. But ultimately, anything that happens for that person is because of yoga and because of them in that individual
Yeah. Them
moment.
showing up for
Exactly.
themselves.
And that should be emphasized because it shifts the power out of the teacher or the guru's hands and it puts it in your hands.
Yeah.
The fact that you can question at all, you can whenever you're and I love taking other teachers' classes. When I go to Bali, I take all the teachers' classes. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you are still armed with, I like this, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. This doesn't feel right. The fact that you are in that empowered sense, like that is what should be emphasized in the teaching.
100%.
And maybe it just gets lost in modern teacher training now. There's bigger groups, there's multiple teachers. You could have up to 60 participants in a teacher training.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible that so many people want to come to your offering
Yeah.
and that so many people want to be there. But it may be those core things that are building an individual's like sovereignty and what yoga is really, really doing for you. It's missed.
I know, it gets a little bit lost. 'Cause then, like,
Right?
if you're in such a large group like that, it's then become 1,000 times harder to put your hand up and question and
Yeah.
speak up. And
Yeah.
I saw that a little bit, even within myself and the recent teacher training that I was, because there was a lot of us. And it's cool because you meet so many different people and like you're on like a similar journey. Well, of course, everybody's on a different journey, but you're all going through this one
Yeah.
container together. But it's easy when, you've got like bigger, perhaps like personalities or voices who are,
Mm.
then it becomes like, oh shit, like
Where do I fit in this?
yeah, and you become a little bit quieter. And anyway, so I could see that taking place in a subtle way in a teacher training like that. Yeah.
What is something you wish that there was kind of just more of? We were talking about the wellness industry is just bigger than everything else right now. In terms of economic viability, the wellness industry is actually huge. Wellness
Hmm.
real estate, wellness practices, containers, retreats. It's bigger than any industry right now.
Yeah.
What is, at this point in your experience, at this point in your journey, what is like something you just wish there was more of? Or what do you think is missing? I wish there was a faster shift. And this is now we kind of like start to overlap into the socioeconomic political responsibility of yoga. But
Mm.
I wish there was more or a faster shift away from colonial ideas and neo capitalist ways of life. I
Mhm.
wish that, those original pillars of yoga in the more traditional sense, I wish that we were more free to be able to really live out those values, that we just moved away from ultimately money entirely. I know this is
Mhm.
completely ridiculous if you're
Yeah.
asking, but I kind of wish it took us out of that concrete jungle stage and just
Mm.
brought us closer to nature, because we would
Yeah.
all be healthier, we would all be happier, and we would all be more fulfilled.
I can 100% get on board with that.
My privilege is not lost on me at all in
Mhm.
this capacity. By capitalist standards, the little that I do have, it's still an incredible privilege to practice this way, have this lifestyle, have this schedule, be this close to the ocean,
Yeah.
get to do half of the things that I do. Whereas someone sitting in a city somewhere with
Yeah.
all of this money and all
Yeah.
of these resources is just
Feel most disconnected than ever.
exactly, and all of these relationships, and maybe is married and kids, and
Mm.
I wish there was a faster shift that brought us all closer together. I think we are witnessing
Yeah.
it, the beating of this drum that is,
Collapsing the timelines for it to just like
yeah, it's just such a slow like rhythm. I'm also just thinking now what I understand about the five elements, what I understand about nature is nature's rhythm is not on our individual construct of time,
yeah, I mean, what is
It's
actual time?
frustrating.
What is
Yeah.
time? Who
We're
invented?
questioning
I
everything.
mean,
What is real?
time
um,
doesn't exist.
exactly.
I mean, I think just even the concept of this is the way and this is the only way, even within the yoga scope,
Mm,
I feel like there should be more encouragement to question everything and people to feel empowered to question everything, even the person facilitating. Be like,
mm.
question me, poke
Yeah.
holes into everything. Like,
Yes.
I
I'm
think,
here for it,
yeah, challenge. And I think we were talking about it the other day, like even my relationships toward yoga and like some of the things that I've been taught in the past. It's interesting, it's beautiful, and it's empowering to be able to be like, is that something that I align with anymore? Even the word namaste or like oming or chanting certain things, and it's like, is that something that aligns with me anymore? I don't know, but I think it's super important to be able to empower participants and each other to question things. And another point that I was going to make before, because I think we were talking something along the lines of students are drawn to certain leaders or certain teachers and guides and they like stick with them. They don't explore any other sort of perspectives or anything like that. Whereas when I look at my yoga journey from my 200 out, even from before that, like certain yoga teachers that I went to was something completely different. A training where they put into question, I think, the Vedic principles of yoga that was taught. The way they teach is more in the Buddhist philosophy,
way,
yeah,
yeah.
the way. And then from there, like I just finished a completely different training where they didn't dive into philosophy. Well, on the online aspect of it, there was philosophy, but when we were there in person, it was more about the asana. And
So there's no like sounding board for the discussion. It's like, okay, well, we've talked about this philosophical idea or this
yeah.
concept. How to apply it to my everyday life? There's no like open
Yeah, true.
discussion for
Yeah.
that to grow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, but it was, I just think, and even going to your training last year and like being immersed in the five elements and the philosophy of Chinese medicine, I think the point that I'm trying to make is that I think it's important to go to different people and not be stuck on one sort of style or path or particular teacher and their, what do you call it? Like the family tree. the lineage.
The lineage, yeah.
I think it's really interesting to be able to go
Draw
to
from
draw from
multiple.
different and see what
Mm,
you align with. What is
mm,
this how does this person align, and I suppose embody what they're trying to convey or teach. And then by exposing yourself to so much diversity in that realm, it, in my opinion, empowers you more to just choose a path that's more
mm.
in line with you than to
With
being
you,
like
yes.
stuck on one sort of style.
Is it possible that, unless of course you find that this really works and really resonates, is there a possibility that it is just creating more clones of this one
Yeah.
iteration of it?
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, how can you say that it's yoga? But it's no, it is very possible. If yoga's capable of changing the structure of your brain and rewiring your nervous system, that is possible. There are people from history that have been quite influential, whether negative or positive,
So interesting.
have known about the practice of yoga and its impact. So it is possible for you to move into this echo chamber of just everyone's the same and everyone's doing the same thing and everyone loves the same guru and everyone's practicing in the same way. So yeah, 100%. You can also deviate from it and come back to it later.
Definitely.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, so 100% on what you're saying, because just because it's yoga doesn't mean that it's this perfect structure for creating the most perfect human being. That's it's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And also, there's just going to be some teachers you're not going to vibe with.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not
And
the classic saying of you're not for everyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you don't have to be. What I want to be able to do is just keep cultivating this. I don't want to say hold space.
Yeah. Is that
There's
something
some
that
phrases
is that,
where it's like
is that another
door
phrase to add to the list?
slowly shutting on my soul when I'm saying I have to say I hold space. It's terrible because there's nothing wrong with
I know,
saying it,
but
but
there's
it's
this
just become
it's so
so
used. It's so used.
what
I
does that
know what you
even
mean.
mean? But
I know what you mean.
I do want to stay open in inviting people to come and have a space where they can ultimately build their individual sovereignty, which is
I think that's a beautiful way to say it.
it's inevitable if you're going to be constantly inquiring
Yeah.
to build self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. You're gonna want to think for yourself and be your own individual person. It's just, it has to happen if that's the energy and that's the focus.
You're sharpening yourself as an individual so that you can port and be part of the collective. You want to be the best person that you can be for the people that you love, the people that you don't know, and it just like ripples out into everything that you do. So yeah, I think that's a really beautiful point.
Something else we talked about the other day, which prompted us to do this recording, or me. Sorry.
I know, I was like, okay,
She's
I'll
here,
do a podcast.
she's here, not under her. Oh, well, speaking of
Blink
being
twice
able-
if you need. No, I'm joking.
Sorry, Anna. She's here under coercion.
No, it's good. It's good.
But the conversation that kind of like prompted this as well is identity, right? Where we were talking about where does that leave us? And yeah, we are facilitators, guides, teachers.
Yeah.
But we go through that crisis as well. Just because we're teaching doesn't mean that we're not on this like easy flowers blooming level kind of like pause at all. If anything, it's
No.
making it harder.
Dismantling things as well.
Yeah, your individual beliefs are completely different.
Yeah. Even my relationship to the practice, there's been time periods where I've stepped away. It's like, okay, what does it look like? Still being super, super aware and connected with myself, but what does it look like when I step away from the practice and just live my life without even attachment to the practice in itself? And just exploring what it feels like. Do I feel a shift in like my energy? Do I feel like this heaviness in my mind, this like the chatter? And now that I'm like coming back to my practice, my physical practice, that is a little bit more regularly, and coming back to my meditation practice more regularly, it is nice to step away and just look at things with fresh eyes. Like, is this something that still aligns with me? Is this something that I find value in?
How much of it should I practice? Should I be meditating more? Should I
Yeah.
be practicing more? Yeah.
Yeah, because yoga isn't just about hopping on the mat and practicing 2 hours in the day. But yeah, so I think that's something that I was like sitting with quite a bit. Now that I'm coming back to it, I'm like seeing where it fits in my life again. And yeah, just I guess reassessing my relationship to it.
I was telling you that story of that student that I had on 200 hours after teaching a bit of the koshas.
Oh yeah.
and a bit of the yoga anatomy,
Yeah.
and understanding the story, the
Mhm.
traditional story that comes behind it.
Mhm.
This young woman, she really resonated with the story, and this has happened to me multiple times through being exposed to traditional Chinese medicine
Mhm.
knowledge, Taoist wisdom,
Yeah.
yoga, philosophy, any other culture in the East
Mhm.
or in Asia, where I'm listening to the information that is being presented to me,
Mhm.
and the knowledge
Mhm.
and the wisdom is being imparted to me. And I'm not necessarily making the decision in my mind that this is right or this resonates.
Right.
It
Okay.
comes from somewhere else,
Yeah.
you know? And I think there's a possibility, that's such a South African thing to say, you know. It's coming out. Do you know? And I think there's a possibility that in an immersion where you're being presented with all of these ideas and this new theory and these new concepts, that there is for the first time experiencing that.
Mhm.
It's not logical. It's something much deeper than the mind. Yes, this is new knowledge. I accept it fully
Mhm.
because I just know,
Yeah.
not in my mind, but I just know in me and my being that this is true for me where I am at now and my space and what I'm experiencing. I think there's a big chance of you experiencing that for the first time
Mhm.
in an immersion. She came to me afterwards. She was absolutely distraught because she's been going to church with her mom
Mhm.
since she was a little girl. And now there's this concept that actually challenges that original religious belief. And I've never seen anyone like that before. That's that breakdown in
Yeah.
belief and identity that
Yeah.
happens. And I'm the teacher or the facilitator, and I'm the one responsible for being able to keep that person together.
Yeah.
I've heard so many negative things where girls come out of it and they have to go for psychological
Shit.
assistance
Yeah. Wow.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So
That's a huge. Whew.
this 200-hour teacher training, this immersion had every opportunity, and had the capacity to really, at least hold her through this
Mhm.
and have her come out of it stronger. But
Yeah.
instead, what it did was collapse her last
Right.
sense of connection to what is to reality, or
Right.
or a stable grounding.
Yeah.
And I mean, what to even say about something
Yeah.
like that?
You might feel like this now, but it's okay that you
Yeah.
change your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like because if people are like, well, then if this is the way, then what have I been experiencing all my life? What is this religion or that religion? You question everything. What is right? What is it's okay. Like if you resonate with something now, that doesn't mean that that's
The end of it.
the end
The
of it.
absolute. Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you come back
Yeah.
to it later, even if you come back to Christianity later on in life, like
Mm.
whatever it is in this moment if you feel like a
Yeah.
cracking open of it, sit with it. That's okay.
Mm.
But just know that you can change your mind at any point if something doesn't feel aligned anymore. And I think that's the question, like with identity. Yoga isn't the only thing I am, or like the only identity that I claim. And I think that's another reason why I've sort of like stepped back. It's like, who am I without
That
it?
is.
And so I think it's also really healthy to have those questions. And it's okay. Like I feel like I flip flop. Yoga has been like the most consistent part of my identity in the last maybe say 10 years. But in terms of like what I've done, like career wise, where I've lived, like I feel like I've uprooted myself and remorphed myself and changed identities so many times. It's part of it, girl. Like just
And it's okay.
buckle up.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And you can always change your mind at any point if something feels off. If you're like, you know what? I don't resonate with this anymore.
I'm growing past it. I'm moving on, or it's not. I tried.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
I love that what you said is like, I must remember this, because it's almost like the way that we're brought up, or the way that we've been told is the correct way to live, is so much training us or demanding of us to think, be, act, and do in absolutes.
Yeah.
Right? It's either this or it's that.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You can find the middle path.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing to remember when we're having people that come to a training and then have this vulnerable
Yeah.
moments, which happens.
For sure. And it's such a huge, huge point that you made is that people come here expecting to walk away with the ability, like, yeah, I'm going to go for my 200-hour like student writing every word down. And then their whole entire life
Yeah,
implodes.
yeah.
And then what? What tools have you offered them to step away feeling like more empowered? And what was the word he said? Like sharpen their sovereignty.
Yeah,
Sovereignty.
yeah.
I love that. Like just be able to build up their sovereignty and their strength to when they. The most important part is when they leave the container.
Yes, yes. And how they're going to go out now and live and live well
Yeah.
and healthily, but also be resilient in that if you're going to accept what is shifting and what is changing, that of course relationships need to
Yeah.
change. Maybe your vision for your future has to change, or what you thought you loved has to change. But I'm hoping that, or my intention for a teacher training then is that they're equipped with the tools to be able to manage that, but they also have that a little bit more of resilience
Yeah.
that's come out of it to embrace the change that needs to happen for them to live a more honest,
Yeah.
true to themselves, fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And it's hard won.
Yeah.
It's up and down. It's not, I do want to emphasize that, but I also don't want to overemphasize this, because I'm also kind of like in this area now of, I also don't want to say necessarily that it's manifestation, but it is this area of manifestation where, or this kind of like this goal setting where you understand that not everything has to be hard as well.
Yeah.
You can choose ease,
Yeah.
and it can still lead to the things that you want: success, growth, the family that you want, the love, the
Definitely.
friendships, the experiences that you want to have in your life. I don't want it to be like, oh, it's this hard uphill battle all the time. Of course, we all know that, we accept that as a truth of just living, and we all going through it. We're going through something at some point that we need to shoulder the burden and weather the storm.
Yeah.
Where is the light side of that?
Yeah.
And where is the path where it's like everything doesn't have to be so difficult all the
I
time.
know. Yeah.
And while human beings are challenged on multiple levels with consistency, discipline, showing up, all of those things, which I think are pillars of building resilience as individuals that function in community with each other and in society. But at what point does it just flow?
100%. I think I read something. I don't know where I read it or if I'm going to say this correctly. Your sole purpose is not to just heal all the time.
Right. Jeez.
Your
That's
purpose,
exhausting.
it's so exhausting, but it's like you go from one person or coach or healer to the next, and you try and it's just like, then you spend years and years of your life healing something where it's like, if you just, not just if you, no,
Yeah.
it's hard, but it's like that's not your sole purpose. You also have to like find enjoyment and maybe that's just like a really surface level way of saying it, but
I think
like
so.
just trying to find the lightness. Not everything has to be so heavy.
And you have to confront that pain that you're trying to run from
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. You can heal while doing the fun
Oh,
things.
yeah. I love that.
And while being in relationships. You don't have to be like, this is getting into a whole other rabbit hole or something else.
Yes.
I've gone down like, oh, I'm in the healing, journey. I'm pulling cards every day. I'm relying on the cards to give me messages from the universe. I'm meditating. I'm doing the Hape, the plant medicines, get me more connected. I lose sight or like said no to plans to spend time with family and stuff like that because no, I need to like meditate. I need to do this. And really, like you kind of lose out on the bigger picture of even just having this earthly experience.
Yeah.
And you can fully isolate yourself. I've seen it happen to really close friends of mine. And so I think that's another reason why I've taken some time stepping away from, because that can be an addiction in itself, like stepping away from my asana practice or yoga, just like in general, just to take a little peek of what it is from the outside again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like a small little point.
It's
Point
big.
is
It's a big one.
It is big.
But I love that you said that you don't have to constantly be on this healing thing, and you don't need to be completely healed to. And this is something I've had to realize with my last relationship ending. and kind of like feeling very alone, probably needing the alone time and the reflection time, but also being like, okay, I'm not going to enter into another relationship until I've got all of this shit sorted out and like
Yeah.
all my ducks in a row. Like, what even
Right.
are the ducks and what is a row? And it has been a realization the last like 12, 18 months. I don't need to heal outside of relationships. I met this traditional Chinese medicine doctor in Malaysia, and he said to me, we learn about ourselves through the other. It is possible.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it has to be this intimate or romantic or
Yeah.
this relationship. It can be a friendship, it can be a relationship with a teacher,
Hmm.
someone that's or a mentor, someone that you look up to, a healthy relationship or a healthy interaction that way. And that was a big eye opener for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Knowing that you don't have to be on this constant spiral of healing,
100%.
and that it is possible for you to get help from your community and from the people in your life.
Yeah.
You don't have to come to that perfect.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a burden for anyone, and you want to be a responsible adult. Of course, at
Yeah.
some point,
Yeah.
you.
Gross.
But you don't want to be a burden for others. The people that are meant to be there will be able to
Mm.
shoulder some of the weight for you.
You don't have to do it alone.
Exactly.
You don't have to isolate yourself.
It's okay to rely on others. It's okay to be in community. It's okay to have an emergency contact. It's okay to have someone that you can call at any time.
Hmm.
And that hyper independence that we're so,
Yeah.
that's the best way and that's the ultimate
I know.
freedom. Like, I don't know so much, hey? I
Yeah.
really don't know. So.
Who's your emergency contact?
Yeah, I was thinking that I'm really blessed. I think there's like a few people around you that I know if I'm in trouble, I
Yeah.
could call. And they know they could do the same.
Yeah.
That reciprocity as well is also a
100%.
signal you're being able to show up
Yeah.
on your healing journey.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's so good.
Wow.
Nick, any questions? How long have we been talking?
His back's about
Nick's
to snap.
Gosh,
No. Sorry, I've been tuning in and out of the conversation.
that's okay. I'm like, gosh, it's just been
So
nonstop.
Yeah.
I guess a question that I would like to ask is, and you probably went over this, like the benefits of yoga, but I am guilty of this times. I'm like, oh yeah, I should do yoga, but then I don't. Convince me.
Convince me.
Ooh.
Do
You know,
you
like
want to
why?
speak into the mic and say
No,
a
no.
question?
Well, it can hear. It can
Okay,
hear.
okay.
But like
It
why?
can hear. They
Yeah,
can hear.
yeah. It all hears. Big Brother is here. Why should someone do yoga? I mean, there's obvious benefits, but it's easy to say yes, I should. But then obviously to take that next step isn't the easiest. It should be easy, but it's
Mm,
procrastination's everybody's best friend,
yeah.
especially me. So why should I do yoga?
Well,
Take it away, Chloe.
this is so hard. I've never had to like convince. Well, I'm like, how can I convince? But I mean, I think the important thing for yoga is this misconception has been talked about a lot. And I'm like glad I see it a lot is that, oh, I have to be flexible to do yoga or I have to be strong to do yoga. And it's actually the opposite. It's a subtle shift that you'll probably feel maybe in your, I don't know what would come first, like your mind first, like a subtle shift that you would feel in your mind every time you come onto the mat. And then over time, you will see like these shifts in your body. It's like these incremental wins, I guess, if you want to call it, if you want to call it that. And I think once you sort of get like that taste where you go home and it's just like, oh my God. I always ask people, how do you feel after practice compared to how you felt at the start of it? And it could be an emotional shift, could be something subtle, could be a shift in the body. But I think when people start to develop that relationship with themselves to notice those subtle differences, either physically or emotionally or mentally, it's really a transformative practice in that sense. And like what we've been talking about, you can do it alone if you get a private teacher and like you're a bit nervous to be in crowds. And it can be like a very emotional experience that you might not want to have in front of anyone. But it's also a really, really cool environment to be in when you're practicing next to your partner in a safe space where you hopefully it's a space where safety is cultivated. There's just so many benefits that you'll be able to track over a period of time. Sorry.
It's good for you. That's why you.
It's good for
Yeah,
you, but you have to do it to experience it.
I think what comes first is the shift in the mind or the body or in your physical health or your mental emotional health is like the first shift, I think, is the one that's most needed.
Mm,
So whichever is the most urgent, I think is the one that comes forward first. People do yoga for a number of reasons. A lot of people will say, what's the difference between me going to lift weights in the gym versus me coming to yoga? Yoga works on the subtle energetic layers of the body. If you are someone that's like, where's the science? And I need the science, that's your voice, Nick. If you are
It's a great
someone,
impression.
if you are someone that needs that, there are studies now that are able to quantify the existence of chi, of prana, of life force energy. There is quantifiable evidence now of meridians, its impact on the functioning of your individual organs. So we can go down that route. But if we accept that subtle energetic work is ultimately exactly what I just mentioned, and there is quantifiable evidence for it, then you understand that there is a difference between the cardiac, physiological, aerobic, anaerobic benefits that there are of working out. And for some reason, I'm blanking on which is which. There is the physiological benefit, which you will get from going to the gym. But what is deeper? What is more subtle? And that's where you approach it with the breath, with the energy, with the focus of the mind. Those things all come together to offer yoga healing, not just on the physical body, but on the emotional body. But I've had a friend who's had stage 4 breast cancer. She was a yoga teacher. When she told me, I was distraught, obviously, but she said, I'm not going to die from this. And I don't think anyone that's disconnected from that higher energetic power would be able to make such a bold statement. And it's 14 years later and she is. That's because we understand that healing goes beyond. And a lot of people come to yoga for healing, whatever that healing is. But if someone's ill and they're coming to a yoga practice, healing doesn't only happen at a physiological level. And this is the unexplained part of Western medicine now, where yoga comes in as a medicine. You have to heal on the different layers of the subtle body as well. If we're going to accept the traditional Chinese medicine viewpoint, we understand that there is potential for disease to have an energetic root.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was mental emotional in origin. And so what yoga does is it's going to address it on the physical level, whether it's manifested as an autoimmune disease, a nervous system disease, or a tumor, or a cancer, or a chronic illness. Yoga and energetic practices are able to identify the root cause, not just the symptom, which is now the illness and the physical discomfort in the body. Yoga is able to go to that energetic root and heal that energetic root. Where people are using multiple modalities for healing, yoga is that missing supplement, or traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, anything that's working with energetics is that missing supplement that either cures you forever or prolongs your life if there is the existence of physical chronic illness or acute illness.
So something you had kind of mentioned, I think you probably mentioned it a few times. The first time you go to the gym or something, you're nervous, you don't really know what to do, you feel out of place. I'm sure that happens in the yoga community when someone first gets into class, like, ooh, I shouldn't be here. Look at all these people, professional, doing all this cool stuff. How can somebody combat that? Or do you have any advice for that person to not be nervous? What would be the best piece of advice you could give to not be nervous?
Oh, to not be nervous?
Yeah, because when you first go in there, it's just you feel
Yeah.
out of place, and you're like,
For sure. I'm trying to think what I would do if it was me. I think looking back at what it was like when I first started going into these spaces, I would go very early. Like, this is just
Before, and then
I
you
go,
would see less people in the
yeah,
room.
and I would go before anybody was there, and then even just like have a chat like with the teacher, and hopefully that person could put your mind at ease.
break down the walls.
Yeah, just break down and then like slowly familiarize yourself with the environment that you're going to be in. Maybe try and find like a foundations class or like a restorative class or something that's going to be a little bit more gentle at first, so you can get used to sort of the space in itself. Listening to somebody guide you through each shape, each movement, each breath. And over time, it's just like anything. I think you just have to give it a little bit of time to then put yourself out there to then be a part of the community. If you're really that nervous being in an environment like that, it will be a bit more expensive, but like a private teacher. So you just have that one-on-one time. You can share anything, your goals, the experience that you want to kind of go into having without the social anxiety of being in a new space.
I would say, like, let go of your expectations. as well. One of the things my teacher used to say when I was practicing my early 20s, I'm so lucky with the teachers that I had. She used to say, competition breeds contempt. As soon as you feel like you're in competition with some of the people in the room, huge mistake. And it's
Yeah.
going to cultivate judgment for yourself and for others potentially, and maybe even for your teacher. Let go of your expectations and let go of having expectations of the teachers or anyone around you.
Mm.
It's not a performance.
Mm.
It really is time for yourself. How many of us have time for ourselves? And if you approach it like that, I've got an hour to myself, it's really a good way to start to have the focus turn inward.
Mm.
And then you find yourself completely unconcerned. I've been through it as well. You're going to the yoga class, the person next to you is breathing really loud and it sounds really professional in that ujjayi breath. And you're just
Yeah,
like, I can't breathe like that. Or someone does a handstand flick flack backflip into
The flowy yoga girl.
Yoga's humbled me
Yeah.
so many times and it's been great. What? I mean, you can talk about experiences. I mean, one time in Cape Town, we had Beer Fest for the weekend and a bunch of these guys came into the class and I'm telling you, they were sweating and it was hot yoga. So it's just beer.
Oh, you
Okay.
would smell it coming
Or
out of their
like,
pores.
you know, people have like farted in the class.
Yeah.
Like women have like queefed. You know,
Yes.
like I really want
That's happened to me.
Oh, yeah, it's happened to me too. Like,
Me too.
I just really want us to let go of this prim and proper. It's the body.
Yeah. What a privilege to move it.
Yeah, what a privilege
In
to be able to be
general.
here at all and for it to be able to do any of these things. There is this traditional yogi. He's doing all the wind removing poses and he's farting when he's
Yeah.
doing and it's just, if you think about it like that, that's the brainwashing, and it's
Yeah.
not the silliness. It's just the acceptance of I'm coming here to work on my body
Yeah.
and giving myself an hour with my body, my mind, my heart. We don't have that. We don't have that in everyday
Yeah.
life. And then you start to turn the gaze inward and just be like, well,
I would just say focus on the four corners of your own mat.
exactly.
Like,
It
don't
becomes very
worry.
hard
It's
to
hard.
do anything else
Yeah.
when you're in a class. Yeah.
So I like what I'm hearing. If I wanted to reach out, where can I find you?
Oh.
That's so cute. Instagram is probably the most consistent thing for me. So at Chloe Labrador, like the dog, is my Instagram handle.
And I'm at Sjenade Williams, SJENADE.
And we will put links in the bio. So last, I like to do sometimes a rapid response, 5 questions, just one word answers, which is always quite tough.
Okay.
I'll try to keep them simple, and I know no questions are very simple. Your favorite type of yoga to practice?
It's hard.
I know.
It's
Favorite vinyasa.
Acupressure and yoga.
Okay. Best thing about yoga for you?
Fucking hell. Do they have to be like short answers?
Just as quick as
Yeah. That it's
Or should I say best or favorite?
the fact that I can be in any single type of mood and my practice is there for me.
Oh yeah, I love that. That it really is a physical, mental, emotional release.
Mm.
Worst thing about yoga?
That you have to do it every day. If you want any kind of
Change.
shift, you gotta do it every day. And physical asana is not the only yoga that there is. Meditation, a bit of breath work, a connected walk, turning your phone off. You know, a lot of things are yoga, which is great. And we still avoid it.
Yeah, it's so true. I would say the same thing, is that in order to see the change, you need to be consistent with it. But the beauty is that there are many ways to be consistent that doesn't look like getting on your mat for 2 hours a day.
Biggest misconception about yoga?
That you have to be flexible or strong.
Yeah, that it's for a specific type of person,
Yes.
that it's for a specific group.
Yeah.
If you have a body, you can do yoga.
Yes.
Okay, and
Of any ability as well. A body of
Yeah.
any ability.
Yeah.
5th question.
You're good at these.
Nick's great.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he's really
That's
great.
so much fun.
What not to do in a yoga class? Drink lots of beer before.
Have your phone and scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, just have a phone anywhere near, on, or close to the practice space. And having your shoes on in the shala. And unless specified, not cleaning your equipment after you've practiced. Just like general housekeeping, I guess. Not doing anything that really disturbs a
Yeah, the
person's
person
practice. Like,
practicing.
you could be having a bad time, but it's like, that's your thing, bro. You're like, you don't have to take it out on the whole class. I've had people like huffing and puffing. It's clear that they were unhappy with the class or in the class. And it's just like, well, everyone else has still got 45 minutes of practice. Like,
Yeah.
can you please control yourself? Or just simply walk out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this wonderful conversation today. I absolutely appreciate it, even though I was kind of in the background, but it's been absolutely amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick,
Thanks,
for
Nick, for
providing
facilitating.
the equipment, the very important equipment, recording equipment, and the space, and for taking time out of your schedule
Yeah,
to do
thanks
this
so
for us.
much
And
for
thanks to
doing
everyone
that.
for listening. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
So, you know,
No, I think that was a nice conversation.
yeah.
Aw.
Thanks, lovely.
Thanks for pushing me out of my comfort zone yet again.
Good.
Oy.
Thanks for being willing.
Yeah. Oh.
You know what you're talking about. You got this.